days camping. I don't know that I'm even going to make it into the parks. It's all about coming up here with the Horton Hauler that we made into a conversion and trying that out. Because we've got Ricky with us, we weren't sure how everything was going to happen, so we went ahead and we rented a cabin too. So it's going to be a 2-for-1 special this time. We're going to have fun at the campsites and we're going to have fun at the cabins and around Fort Wilderness. Yay! We're back! Ah!
This trip would be very different from our normal trips to Disney, for many reasons. It would be our first time back since the shutdown of Disney on March 16th, 2020. This would also be the inaugural test trip of our 20-foot Horton Hauler that my husband Rick spent the last 2 years converting into a camper. As a family, it would be the first time my now adult daughter did not join us. It would also turn out to be the first time since my son was born over 17 years ago that he and his father did not sleep under the same roof. I wanted to share with you my thoughts on this experience and what it was like to rent a campsite and a cabin at the same time. Returning to Fort Wilderness Campground has always been a treat for us. To say that Rick Sr. was excited for his first trip camping in the trailer would be an understatement. This, however, came with a few challenges. First, he needed to know that it would be safe traveling and that setup would go as planned. He would travel up the night before, and Ricky would stay home with Mommy. As Ricky is autistic and still mostly nonverbal, understanding what he understands can be challenging. But after about 6 hours of running to the window and door looking for Daddy, he finally understood that we would be joining him the next day, and all was well. Not knowing quite what reaction Ricky would have to being in the new camper, for we had been staying in the cabins ever since we outgrew our last travel trailer a few years ago. We went ahead and rented a cabin as well. This worked out well for us. I will warn you, if you book more than one reservation on the same date with the same guests on each reservation, that on the day of check-in, the Disney reservation system may automatically cancel one of those. Daddy's trip was mostly uneventful, and he was able to arrive safely and fix the few issues he did have. He was able to set up and enjoy a nice night of freedom as he well deserved. Ricky and Mommy made it through the night and had a very relaxing trip up to meet Rick Sr. at the campsite. After arriving, the first thing to do was to get something to eat. So I headed over to P&J's Southern Takeout at the settlement. When entering, you will go in through Crockett's Tavern, and although the buffet is closed, it was nice to see some familiar faces and friendly faces. The walk-up bar is still open, and you are able to sit at the tables inside. However, most guests just got their meals to go. I ordered my pizza, walked to the marina, where unfortunately the pontoon boats are still not available, and watched the boats running to and from the Magic Kingdom. My buzzer went off and it was time to return to get my dinner. This trip was during the last week of October, so we were lucky to have all of the fabulous Halloween decorations to admire. As one of Ricky's favorite things to do is ride around in the golf cart, this was a nice experience. Our campsite was on the 700 Loop, and it was a great location to be. The Loop sits right across from the settlement and the Circle D Ranch barns. The barns are open for a limited time during the day, so make sure to check out their times daily. Not as close to the marina as the 100, 200, and 300 loops, but there is the added bonus of it being a bit quieter and private. I would definitely stay in this spot again. The next morning, while Rick Sr. and Ricky snored in their beds, I took a boat ride over to Magic Kingdom to catch a peek of Cinderella's castle and her new paint job. I spent a few hours here and returned to the campgrounds. More on my thoughts of returning to Magic Kingdom during the pandemic in a moment. The rest of the day was spent having fun running back and forth between the cabin and the campsite. And yes, Ricky decided to sleep in the cabin and not the camper, so that will be a future challenge to overcome. We tried out our camping gear, cooked some food, and took another look at all the decorations, as there were many. The following morning, we packed up and headed home, feeling that the overall trip was a success. The camper held up well, and Ricky had no meltdowns. Finally, my personal thoughts on returning to Disney during the pandemic. We have spent the past 12 years frequenting the parks on a regular basis. It was the one place we could go as a family together. It was our bubble. We went through the initial changes to the disability system that were hard and unfair to those on the autism spectrum so many years ago. Through some trial and error, we were able to adapt as well as we could. I currently reside in South Florida, which has been a hot spot since the beginning of the pandemic. Yet I would say I felt safer entering Magic Kingdom than my local grocery store. I know they cleaned the cabin thoroughly before we arrived, and having our own camper, we had no concern here. This leaves the question, was it worth it to me to go at this present time? In regards to the campgrounds, for us not having access to the playgrounds and the pontoon boats was a negative for us, as those are the things that Ricky enjoys the most, as he no longer likes to go into the parks for the past few years. The stores had shorter hours than usual, and we definitely missed the main restaurant. As for the parks, there are many rides and experiences that are not open, which can make it hard when parents have to explain to the children, not this time. And the lines for food are long because there are limited places open. The lack of extra entertainment that makes the parks feel so magical is also felt. In other words, Walt Disney World during COVID is a popped bubble for me. I'm optimistic that I will feel that magic again, and I look forward to seeing my favorite performers return, and I hope, as I'm sure we all do, that it will be sooner rather than later. We'll see you real soon.